First of all, I'd like to thank Shri Das Prabhu for inviting me. He's spoken very kind words about me, which is not a totally doing of me. So he's very kind to mention these few words. So today I've been asked to speak something on chanting the Mahamantra. So before I get into that, let me first of all offer my respectful obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatu gasha kripa sindhadevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. So when I was thinking about this, we have just arrived in Bangalore. In fact, after visiting Vrindavan, just came from Vrindavan, we were traveling all of yesterday from getting to Bangalore. And I was thinking about what can we say. There's so much to say about chanting the holy names. There's a lot to say about that and the necessity of that. So this particular verse came to my mind. It is Canto 3, chapter 31, text 12. It's a prayer that the Jantu gives in the womb. So I'll just recite the Sanskrit. Tasyo pasanam avitum jagadechayatha nana tanor bhuvika chala charanaravindam soham vrajami sharanam hyakutubu bayam me yene drishi gatiradashri asoto rupa. So this particular verse is Canto 3, text 31, chapter 31, text 12. And the translation is, the human soul says, I take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personal Godhead, who appears in his various eternal forms and walks on the surface of the world. I take shelter of him only because he can give me relief from all fear, and from him I have received this condition of life, which is just befitting my impious activities. So 3:31:12. So yeah, Prabhu is very on top of it. So this is the verse. And if you go to the English translation, so this is what he's saying. The human soul prays, I take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personal Godhead, who appears in his various eternal forms and walks on the surface of the earth. I take shelter of him only because he can give me relief from all fear, and from him I have received this condition of life, which is just befitting my impious activities. So the thing is this, when we first come to Krishna consciousness, we are told, when we are preached to, we are told, usually Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalau nasteva gatiranyata. So we're told this, that in this age of Kali Yuga, there is no other way, there's no other way except chanting the Lord Hari's glories. And then we are introduced to this chanting of Mahamantra meditation. So very early in our devotional career or devotional life, we are introduced to the chanting process. Now, what happens with the chanting process is that there is a good chance that as we go chanting, we don't have a taste for chanting yet, but because we are told that this is the way to purify ourselves, we are willing to chant. This is the way to see Krishna that we are willing to chant, that Krishna appears in his holy names, that we want to have a system of Krishna. Now, there are various reasons that we could want to have association with Krishna. Somebody is trying to, get relief from distress. Somebody is trying to get wealth. Somebody is inquisitive. Somebody is trying to achieve some fruitive results. Let's say some results from their activities. So there are different ways that there are different reasons we come to Krishna. Very few of us come to Krishna with the idea of going back to Godhead. Very, very few, at least in the beginning. Very often we come to Krishna because of the prasadam, we come to associate, come to Krishna because of the association of devotees. We come to Krishna because of other reasons I mentioned earlier. Now, but at the same time, there's an inner purpose that we actually come to Krishna. And that inner purpose is what we see in this verse, where the human soul, the jantu, which is in the womb of the mother, is in such a difficult situation. It's in such a, how shall I put it, very, very congested, very, very uncomfortable situation. Can you imagine being stuck in a womb for 9 months and with the gastric fire of the mother just firing at us at all times in full speed? And the child cannot actually move this way or that way, that it's like stuck there. And it's just waiting to be released from this prison cell that it's stuck in. Very often when I kind of preach to others in terms of meat eating, I give this kind of example to them. It's just like the chicken, when you see the hen and the chicken, they put in cages and they put so close together that they just barely can breathe or can't do anything. And I say, do you really want to eat a product which is like that, which is kind of put into such misery? Do you want to put chicken into such misery? And then invariably people will say, yes, you're right. I think I should stop eating chicken or hen or whatever. Because nobody wants to put anybody in misery. Nobody would like to put anybody in misery, and at the same time, we ourselves don't like to be in a miserable condition. So in this particular verse, the human soul actually is praying Chalak Charna Aravindam. Chalak Charna Aravindam means that the lotus feet, Charna Aravindam, is the lotus feet of the Lord. Yeah, that second line. Chalak Charna Aravindam. So the lotus feet of the Lord is actually he's free. He walks all over the surface of the planet, all over the surface of the universe. He's free to wander anywhere and everywhere he wants. And this soul is experiencing complete engagement. And the chalak is a walking path, and the charna wisdom is a lotus feet of the Lord. And he's saying that you are so free that you're walking all over the universe without any interruption, without any obstacles. And I'm stuck in this position. And the reason I'm stuck in this position, even here, the human soul does not blame Krishna. The human soul says, my dear Lord, I'm here stuck in the soul because of my past karma, which is so it's befitting that I should be stuck like this. But even though it is because of my own doing I'm stuck, I request you that please give me release from this bondage. Please give me release from this cycle of misery that I'm going through. From one misery to another misery, I'm just going from one misery to another. Please give me relief from that. So that is the prayer of the Jantu in the womb of the mother. And this entire set of prayers that is very powerful for all of us to study, because we can realize what promise we make to Krishna. We say that I will not do anything else. Once I come out, once I get relief from this, I will not take anything else. I will not do anything else except worship you. I'll do nothing else except worship you. So that is something that we have to kind of digest in our thing. The main reason we are chanting is because we really want to get out of this bondage of this limitation that our body is putting on us, this limitation that our mind and our intelligence is putting on us. So in this regard, what happens is now we have the situation that I want to do that, I want to go there, but the question comes to how do I focus? How do I bring focus to something? So now what happens is, if you notice, the way our mind works is that if something is put in front of us, then we tend to focus on that or meditate on that. For example, we must have something in front of us uh, that we take shelter of. There must be some shelter. Say, for example, I was just looking at some examples I had to think. Say we enter a hall. Suppose we enter a hall, the deities are there, and they are our shelter at that time. Suppose there are no deities, there may be only open museum here, then some antique material is there. Suppose you enter a museum and you see this antique material, then your focus is on the antiques. Same way, if you go to a mall, in the mall there are shops. And when you go to the mall, your focus is on the shops that are there. So in every situation, if you notice, our focus changes according to what is presented in front of us. So if we are presented a mall, we will be focusing on shops. If we are go to a horse stable or something, we will be discussing about horses and the leelas of horses and the different breeds of horses, and so much conversation we'll have on horses. We can, if we go to a computer shop, we can just discuss about, we can discuss about how the benefits of these laptops are and this thing and that thing, the pros and cons and all that. So I think you get the point that when we are put in front of something, that thing becomes our focus. So the acharyas have told us that one of the best ways for you to focus on Krishna is by repeated chanting of his names. And that is why, unlike other paths where there are different, you got this concept of mindful meditation, you got this concept of yoga, you got this concept of dhyana, jnana, and all these other forms of self-realization are there. The acharyas tell us that the simplest and the easiest way is to remember Krishna is to chant his holy names. So that is something that we have to consider when we sit down for chanting. That the reason we're sitting down for chanting is because we want to experience Krishna. Now, the thing that happens is, because we don't have a purpose very well established, many a times the chanting can become mechanical. It can be very mechanical. And that is something that recently when I was in of course, you all have had recent Japa retreat with His Grace Purnendu Prabhu. Many of you attended the Japa retreat programs, and I'm sure from time to time you get these Japa retreats and all that, where the quality of your chanting can improve and so on and so forth. Recently in Vrindavan, when we were there a couple of days ago, we had this His Grace Mahatma Das Prabhu was giving a class, and he explained chanting in a certain way. He said, if you're anyway going to be chanting for 2 hours, sitting down and doing japa to 2 hours, you might as well enjoy the chanting. That's an interesting way of putting it. You're going to be sitting and chanting, you might as well enjoy it, because no point chanting being bored. So you might as well sit down and focus on the holy name and start remembering and chanting it. So that is something that I thought was a very interesting point to take. And I tried practicing the last couple of days that format, and it works very nicely when you actually start enjoying, saying this is actually Krishna's names, and actually I'm having association of Krishna during this time. And this is my personal time with Krishna. And because it's my personal time with Krishna, for a change, I don't have to worry about all the other prescribed duties, and I don't have to worry about so many other things. And I just have to take this opportunity to spend some time with Krishna out of my day. And the more I can do, the greater it is. So that is something that I find very, very powerful, because that is what once you understand the goal, once you understand the reason why we're doing what you're doing, then our interest in that increases. In 5, there's another verse I was just looking at. I'm trying to see this thing. In 5:18:26, there's another verse, 5:18:26. Sigura Prabhu will put it on the screen for you, all of you. This is also a very nice verse to let us know that if you want to associate Krishna, so if you go to the translation, it says, "My dear Lord, just as a puppeteer controls his dancing dolls and a husband controls his wife, your lordship controls all the living entities in the universe, such as the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Although you are in everyone's heart as a supreme witness and commander, and are outside everyone as well, the so-called leaders of society, communities, and countries cannot realize you. Only those who hear the vibration of the Vedic mantras can appreciate you." So that is interesting. So in other words, this walking, this Chalak Charana Ravindam, what happens is that Krishna is said to be walking in the Vedic mantras. That's why it is said that when you chant the Vedic mantras and you chant it properly, then you can, in that sound vibration, you can experience Krishna. So that's something that I find very powerful. Again, that we all say we want to see God, but but God cannot be seen with these material eyes. Then you need divya chakshu. So without that, you can't see God. And so therefore, what happens is that the best way to see God is to hear about him, to chant about him, and thus remember him. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So when we do this chanting, this mantra meditation every day, and the time we do it, we sit down and actually focus on the chanting. Naturally, the focus will go towards Krishna. And when the focus goes towards Krishna, we will experience Krishna. And when we experience Krishna, then our batteries will be charged to be able to perform all other activities. Because now what we've done is we've watered the root of a tree. As we all know, the tree is when you have a tree and a tree has millions of leaves, like us, we have millions of topics to discuss. We have millions of duties to perform. We have millions of circumstances to find solution for. We have so many things that can distract us from chanting. When we tell people chant, 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 they say can't, because no time, no time, no time. So there's so many things that can take our energy away in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga. There's so many things that can take our energies away. But what happens with regard to this chanting is that if we can focus on it, if we can actually, it's like taking the example of a tree. If you take a, say, water pipe or a spray bottle or whatever, and try to water every leaf. You try to water every leaf. You might keep it green for some time because water obviously will make it feel fresh and it will be green. But eventually, if there's no water going to the root, then the tree will dry up and die. So on the other hand, a wise person will always water the root of the tree. And when we water the root of the tree, even though the topmost leaf is probably 20 feet away from the roots, maybe 20, even 100 feet. Sometimes in California, we see there are trees which are 100 feet tall and they have lived for 5,000 years and things like that, 200, 300 years, actually, at least. Not 5,000, but 300 years at least they're living. So when you go to those parks in California where there's redwood forest and all that, where the trees are very, very, very old, they're like, like I said, 300, 400, 500 years old trees, and they're very tall. You will wonder how those trees ever get any sunlight or anything like that. But if it's interesting that when the root is watered, even the topmost leaf gets watered. because that's the system, that's how it works. The same way, when we take to chanting and we are watering the root. So somebody might ask, quite often this question is asked of me, that, and I'm sure all of you have gone through this question as you preach to others, that how will chanting help me with my financial situation? How will chanting help me with my job situation? I mean, how will chanting help me? What we do there is we forget one basic thing, this concept of root, that if you water the root, if the leaf which is 20 feet away can be nourished, why do you think watering Krishna's, by watering the root, by chanting Krishna's name, will not makes some will Krishna will not make some arrangement for whatever's troubling us? Krishna maintains, is already maintaining. We hear it so often from the Shastras and people that Krishna is already maintaining the leaf. I mean, he's maintaining the trees, the animals, the birds, the bees, all these things he's maintaining without any endeavor from their side. They're not putting any endeavor, he's still maintaining them. He's still taking care of the roti, kapra, makan. But why not? Why is it not possible for Krishna, or why would Krishna not want to maintain us who are trying to be servants? We are attempting, we are trying our best, even though we have so much, inebrities and so much weakness of heart. We have so many other fears, illusion, lamentations. We have all these things. In spite of all this, we are putting that extra endeavor to say, my Lord, I will try to be a devotee if I can, if you permit me, if you give me permission, I'll try to be your devotee, if you give me the permission. So why will Krishna not support us? He's a loving father, why will he not do this? So that is what the challenge is. So therefore, the quality of chanting automatically improves when we start understanding that that Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's prasad, everything associated with Krishna is the root cause of our existence. And if we engage in an association of those root causes, namely chanting, prasadam, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, reading, association of devotees, the ABCD, association, Bhagavatam, chanting, and diet. If we do the ABCD of Krishna consciousness, then XYZ of Krishna consciousness will also take place. So those are a few words I wanted to share with you all. I don't want to, I want to keep some time open for if there's any questions for this thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for sharing deep insight into the importance of holy names and how, by chanting, we actually would satisfy everything. All the religiosity, all the personal care would be taken care just by chanting, and how it is the key for a spiritual advancement. Thank you. So I just want to open the floor for any comments or questions. So I see Nishant Prabhuji, you have raised your hand. So yeah, you can please ask. You can, yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Purnendu Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for very pointed, immaculate instructions on chanting. Prabhuji, you did mention that through His Grace Mahatma Prabhuji, that when we are investing 2 hours in Brahmamuhurat in the morning, rather enjoy than just being bored in chanting. So you started doing that and you started feeling the difference. So Prabhuji, could you please elaborate the definition of enjoyment when you said 2 hours of enjoyment of chanting? What exactly you did? Just wanted to understand further on that, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Prabhu. That's a very good question. So the word enjoyment, what happens is that I put into what I started doing is I started realizing, you know what, this is Krishna's holy names. This is Krishna himself. And Krishna is giving me an opportunity to associate with him at this point of time. And I've been spending my life looking for association of Krishna. This whole concept of, we take yatras, we go to darshans, we try to, we try to go to Mangalati and we have darshan of Krishna and all that. And till we have darshan of Krishna, when we are in front of Krishna, the deities of Krishna, and in the temples or at our own home altars and all that, we do experience some relief from distress. We do experience relief from distress. We feel a certain kind of peace overcoming us. And then once we leave that and we go back into city life and all the traffic and everything else, the deity of Krishna, that experience is forgotten. So, what I was thinking is, so just as we go and try to take darshan of Krishna, this is another form of darshan of Krishna. So now what happens is that this is Krishna's name. So if I'm taking Krishna's name, that means I'm actually with Krishna. Krishna is with me at this point of time. And so in that sense, I would say enjoyment. I mean, what I'm saying is it's Krishna is giving me an opportunity to be with him. He's sitting and he's coming and taking time off to be with us at this time. So I said, why not actually just sit down and actually hear his name nicely and just experience the fact that he's with me at this point of time. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
So it's a good and more so. See, even with the holy name, what I experienced, Prabhu, when you do kirtan, what happens is kirtan has a little different connotation to it, because there what happens is you've got musical instruments. The senses are being activated quite heavily. So there's a different kind of even though kirtan is meant for the glorification of the Lord, very often we say, oh, this kirtan is good, that kirtan is good. Actually speaking, we're not actually glorifying the Lord. We're trying to find something to have a senses thing. So we say one kirtanier is better than another kirtan. Really speaking, even a kirtan out of tune should be very good for us, really speaking, because it's kirtan, it's glorifying the Lord. But we are not yet that pure that we can see a kirtan. We are not that pure. So we like that certain, we'll say, oh, Prabhu, you should lead the kirtan, Prabhu, you should lead the, or Mataji, you lead the kirtan. Because you are still conditioned to good music and good sound and things like that. But really speaking, it should be, all kirtan should be glorifying the Lord and all kirtan should be enjoyable. But it is not. Japa, on the other hand, is a very personal time. It's a very personal time that we have with Krishna. It's only between our mind, our intelligence, our ego, and Krishna. There's nobody else coming. There's no other side distractions there. So therefore, I mean, the main distraction is the mind, of course. But so therefore, when I say enjoy, what I mean is to reflect upon the fact that this is a few minutes, a few days, a few hours, or whatever time we are spending, that Krishna is giving us an opportunity to be with him, and why not take it with a full heart and try to take full benefit of it. So I hope that kind of clarifies a little more.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thanks, Nishant Prabhuji, for asking this wonderful question. Just want to check if anyone else online will like to. Vikas Prabhu, I see you have unmuted yourself. Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. Just want to understand, how do we concentrate? You said you have to concentrate on the name of Krishna while chanting in the morning 2 hours. So how do we improve and how do we concentrate and enjoy the chanting?
Okay. The minute we try to do something, I can assure you the mind will take us away from it. My Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Maharishi Goswami, would always say, the minute we ask ourselves, how should I do something? How should I do devotional service? Then Krishna disappears from the scene. Because now the thing comes, now the focus is becoming on me. How can I do it? There's very little we can do in this world. The concept of Sharanagati, or surrender, is that when Krishna says, Sarva Dharma, no, not Sarva, just Bhavanam Janvanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadate Vasudeva Sarvamati Sa Matma Su Durlabha. He's saying after many births and deaths, a Jnanavan, a person who is very knowledgeable, surrender Sharanagati, yes, Mam Prapadate, surrenders unto me. Because why does he do that? Because he sees that everything is Krishna, Vasudev Sarvamati, that Krishna pervades every aspect of our lives, every aspect of our existence. And Samatma, such a great soul, Sudurlabha, is very rare to find. So my personal realization and what I've understood from the Acharyas is that the more I try to focus, I try to bring focus on Krishna, the more I fall off to sleep, actually speaking. On the other hand, if I because it becomes very intense and effort, and I'm already tired and I'm already this thing, so it becomes a very intense, unless you're well rested. If you're well rested and you wake up very fresh in the morning, then there might be some ability to focus and things like that. The reason we don't go through this exercise of trying to focus and do that is because it's very difficult for us to do it. So the best thing for us to do is to appreciate Krishna's names and just take one mantra at a time, one round at a time, and not worry about directly focusing or things like that. Just hearing the mantra, just chanting the mantra, just hearing Krishna saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then next mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, somewhere along the way, distractions will come. It's amazing how, what do you call it? Just when you sit down to chant, all the other things. I mean, I'll have to go to the bank this morning. I have to go pay my mortgage. I have to go pay the car bill. I have to go to this. All thoughts come only when we sit to chant. None of these thoughts come when we sit and watch a India-Australia match. In 8 hours, for 5 hours, you can watch a cricket match of India and Australia. We will not feel like eating, will not feel like drinking water, no thirst, no hunger, no sleep, nothing comes through. But on the other hand, when it comes to chanting, the minute we start chanting, all other duties come in mind. So therefore, my suggestion or my understanding is that if we just take one mantra at a time, and when you see our mind wandering a little bit, stop for a minute and then refocus and say, okay, you know what, my dear mind, please, this is a little personal time we are having with Krishna. Why not we use this time? There's enough other time to worry about other things, like whether it is, finishing a project or doing something. But this few minutes, at least, let me just spend some time with Krishna, and then I can go and do the other project. I don't know if that helps, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, sir. This helps. Yeah. Yeah, that is very true. Always the mind gets 100 of tasks come at that time only, and not during the day and then the time. So
yeah, I mean that's always the case. It's uncanny. It's like almost Krishna is arranged. It's almost like a test. I mean, our mind doesn't wander during kirtan. Our mind doesn't wander during prasadam. Our mind doesn't wander. What do you call it, when we're watching a cricket match, things like that. But when you sit for job, the mind wanders like nobody's business.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Prabhuji. Does anyone else online would like to ask question or any comment? So I see no raised hand and no one unmuting themselves. So with that, I understand that devotees are satisfied, very happy with the Japa talk, Prabhuji.
It could be two ways, Prabhu. It could be devotees are satisfied or devotees didn't understand. I mean, I couldn't communicate it correctly. Because very often, there's a joke that Maharaj would always tell us. He would say, when somebody comes out of a class and they say the class was very, very good. They say, oh, the class was very, very good. Then you ask, so what did you understand? Oh, the class was so good, I couldn't understand anything. So Maharaj had a very humorous way of always, trying to show us. I think Suresh Prabhu is saying something.
Yeah, Suresh.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Prabhu, sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, like while chanting, we feel sleepy. So what is the best option you suggest, Prabhu? Sometimes it will go like, let's go and take sleep nap for some time and then come back and do chanting. But we are losing the auspicious, the Brahma at that time. So what is the best way you suggest, Prabhu, this?
Well, there are two reasons, Prabhu. The question is, why are we feeling sleepy? One is if we've not had a very good rest in the night, and we have had a very disturbed sleep, and therefore we are tired and we're sleepy. In that case, I would suggest that it's good to take a nap. It's good to take a nap and actually come back fresh and then take a 20-minute nap or half an hour nap or something and come back fresh and sit down and chat. There's no point trying to force something which is not there. Now, the other thing could be is that it's not exactly a total lack of sleep that I'm feeling sleepy. It could be that I'm just kind of very distracted today, or my mind is what do you call it? There are a lot of things that are waiting for me to be done, a lot of jobs that are waiting to be finished, and because of which I'm tired and things like that. In which case, devotees have told us, senior devotees have explained to us that one way to do it is to get up and start walking, pacing up and down. So that's another thing we can do. We can start pacing up and down so as to, because sometimes in sitting in one place we can fall asleep. But if you start walking up and down and chanting, Prabhupada would do that very often. You would just quietly, go up and down chanting, and so that's another possibility, Prabhu. I don't know if that helps you in any way.
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks.
Because one is you can walk up and down so that you don't fall off to sleep. The other is if you're actually tired, even walking up and down will not help so much. In which case, it's better to take a nap if you can, and then come back to chanting when you're a little fresher and you can actually give some quality time to the chanting.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Especially,
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
yes.
I'm the wife of Suresh Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, even I have one question, Prabhu. See, all the mothers always have the running mind because we chase around the kids, we chase around the working to finish off on time. Even the same happens while we do the chanting, Prabhu. Mind keeps on running. We have to finish, we have to finish. Otherwise, other works get halted for some time. And again, when kids are back, we won't get the free time to sit and chant. So even when we get the free time also, the mind keeps running, Prabhu. How to stop this running mind during the chanting at least?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. Anusya is going to be giving a class from 11 to 1, I think, on preaching. Of course, Mataji had asked for preaching, but she was supposed to give something on for Mataji's. But that is a question that I think was even raised with Burijan Prabhu. When he gave a Japa retreat, this question was raised that how do Matajis find the time, first of all, forget about running mind. How do they find the time to, especially in Indian circumstances and with children, especially Grihas Ashram? If it's only children, it's one thing, but many times you even have in-laws and things like that, needing attention from you. So that's an excellent question, Mataji. My suggestion would be is two things. If we are able to get up before the children get up, and at least are able to chant a few rounds before they get up. I mean, because one thing that I have experienced, Mataji, in life is this: mothers are caregivers, and this happened during COVID time. What happened is there were a lot of there's a lot of the nurses and doctors who were looking after patients. They were completely getting burnt out. They're getting burnt out they were working 80 hours a day, 80 hours a week and things like that. And there were no rest for themselves and things like that. And so in the process, they were getting totally burnt out. Some of them even gave up their medical profession because they just got tired of looking after people and seeing people die. Even after they looked after them, they saw them dying and all that. So a lot of them left their medical profession and decided to do something else during COVID time. So one of the main things that came out of the COVID experience was that caregivers should also be taking time to take care of themselves. Caregivers should be taking time to take care of themselves. And I see this with mothers and wives and mothers, because they're constantly taking care of their families. If they don't take care of themselves, they'll burn themselves out. And therefore, it is extremely important. Maybe husband has to step in there and take charge of the children for some time. and the husband has to step in and take charge of children for some time, so that the mothers get some time to chant. They get some time to get them. So that is one thing I wanted to state, that it's not only the running mind, it's even trying to get the time to chant is extremely difficult in household life, for at least for the Matajis. But it is important that they make time for it. So one option is to get up earlier than before the children get up and thing. The other is when the children and the husband have gone to office and school or whatever, then that free time that is there, that time to take that time to sit and chant. So those are two options to make time. But your question is more in dealing with how does the running mind stop? That is something that, like Krishna tells Arjuna, is the same question that Arjuna asks in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita to Krishna. Is saying, my mind, you are asking me to sit and do a meditation, but the mind is so tumultuous, that it's easier to control the wind than to control the mind. It is easier to control the wind than to control the mind. So Arjuna asks, and can you imagine Arjuna asking this question? Because Arjuna is, if you notice that the pastime of Arjuna, where he was looking in the reflection in the water and shooting an arrow at a rotating, the eye of a fish that was rotating up above, with two wheels rotating in opposite directions. That means how much precision is required to send the arrow through these two wheels and strike the eye of the form of the fish by looking at the reflection in the water below. It's that much. So Arjuna was not an ordinary person. Even a person of very high caliber like Arjuna said, "My dear Lord, this is not possible to sit down and meditate, because the mind is more powerful than the wind, and it's easier to control the wind than to control the mind." But then what is Krishna's answer in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? He says, "Yes, my dear Arjuna, I do agree with you. The mind is impossible to control, but it can be done with spiritual strength. It can be done with spiritual strength." And so what he means is that if we have to make that personal effort. Like I said earlier in the program, that we have to say that this is my personal time. This is the time that I have been serving my family. I've been serving everybody else. But now this is my personal time. I have to spend some time with Krishna. And why do I want to spend some time with Krishna? Because when I spend some time with Krishna, I can serve my family better after that. So in that sense, it's very critical and crucial for me to spend time with Krishna. So Mataji should see it that way, that this personal time with Krishna is necessary for me to serve my family in a better way. So the affection doesn't go. You can't take away affection from Mataji. So it's impossible to take affection for the family from Matajis. But Matajis also should appreciate that need to take care of themselves so that they can take care of the family. Does that help, Mataji, in any way? I'm not sure if it answers the question.
Yeah, Prabhu, you said that if we chant properly, we can serve the family. How we can correlate it, Prabhu?
Mataji, because what happens is when you chant properly and you actually think you get the energy, because Krishna is a powerhouse. We hear that see the problem in Krishna consciousness, Mataji, we hear a lot of philosophy, but we don't tie that philosophy. In the 12th canto of Bhagavatam, it is said, Shinvan Supatan Vicharano. He said that Shinvan means we hear, Supatan means we study, and Vicharano means we reflect. So if actually we see many of our acharyas and Bhagavatam tells us that Krishna is the powerhouse and we are like the light bulb. So if we want to be the light bulb and we want to, when we are switched on, we want to give light to the room, then we have to be connected to the powerhouse. Now, even if we are a light bulb and we're not connected to the powerhouse, then we will not be able to give light to the room, correct?
Yes, true.
So the same way, we have heard that. I'm sure you've heard that many times in classes by different devotees and all that. That Krishna is the powerhouse and we are the light bulb. And for us to emit light, we have to be connected to the powerhouse. Okay, we have heard that. So in the same way, Krishna is, if he's the powerhouse and he's the source of our energy, and he's the source of our maintenance, he's the source of everything that's happening with us, then you will always come as a mother and as a wife, you will always have situations which you don't have a solution for. You will not have a solution for that situation. There'll be something the children will come up with and you don't have a solution. But if you're connected with Krishna, then what will happen is Krishna will inspire a solution in us. And that solution will be much better than the solution we would have come up with if we had tried to do it by ourselves. Does that help you, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
So what happens, so what I'm trying to say is, I know it's difficult to, I mean, it takes some reflection. You can't pick it up as soon as it's spoken, but think about it this way, that if Krishna is the maintainer of my family, and Krishna is the, well-wisher of my family, if I'm in touch with Krishna, then, and I leave it to Krishna to take care of my family, won't he do a better job than what I can do?
Yes, Prabhu. That faith we have to develop, Prabhu.
What's that, Mataji?
That faith we have to develop, Prabhu.
It will develop, rather. It's not have to develop. We can't, there's no, I mean, the problem in Krishna consciousness, we say we should do this, we have to do this. There's nothing should and have to. It will happen. We have to only see how to make it happen. So like you said, yes, I think somewhere, I quote this verse very often. That Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshashami ma suchaha. Now Krishna says to Arjun that just forget all other prescribed duties and everything else you have. Please, sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam, just surrender unto me. Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papabhyo. I'll take care of all the sinful reactions that you are suffering from. I'll take care of that. All the sinful reactions you're suffering from, I will take care, he says. He's not asking you to take care, he's saying, I will take care of it. Then he says, what will I do after taking care of his sinful reactions? I'll give you moksha. I will give you liberation from this distress, from this anxiety. I'll give you liberation from all this frustration. I'll give you liberation from all that. I'll give you a Vaikuntha environment. But then the last two words are the most important. That's the verse. We forget the last two words. He says, Ma suchaha. Ma sucha means what? Do not doubt. Do not doubt. Our entire process of Krishna consciousness, from the day we join Krishna consciousness till we reach Goloka Vrindavan, it's only these two words we have to deal with. Ma suchaha. Because it is the doubts in us that Krishna may not take care of me in this situation. Krishna, that, and you use the word, you use the word faith. But that is the whole point. It's a good point. That the difference between an advanced devotee and a neophyte devotee is faith. An advanced devotee has complete faith in Krishna's, hand, and we are still trying to develop the faith because we don't think Krishna is real. We don't think Krishna is a person. We don't think Krishna cares for us. We have so many. We don't think Krishna can care for. I think more than Krishna caring for us, the worst thing is we think Krishna can't care for us. Oh, my situation is different. Arjun was okay. Arjun was only fighting a battlefield. Parikshit Maharaj is okay. Dhruv Maharaj is okay. Gajendra was okay. But if you look at that, Gajendra was also helpless. He had his whole army. He had his wives. He had his commanders, elephant commanders. All of them tried to pull Gajendra out of they tried to pull Gajendra out from a crocodile. One crocodile could fight against an entire army of elephants. Can you imagine that? One crocodile. Then Gajendra came to the senses and said to my Lord, I better pray to you, because unless you help me, none of my wife, children, army commanders, none of them can help me. So you please help me. And then automatically he got helped. Does that, I'm sorry, I kind of gave a very long explanation, but does that help, Mataji, in any way?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. It was very helpful.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. This explanation helps everyone, not just Mataji. And I like to share, something similar which happened with me recently. That Purnendu Prabhuji knows that I was going through some dilemma, in my life about what should I be doing, where should I be serving and that all. And while chanting, this thought keeps coming, and if that and if then and what will I do and all that. But when finally I went to my Guru Maharaj, he just said, do this. And it was never thought of, in all my different things. And that was something which actually gave solution to everything, not just the direction he gave, but the consequences thereafter. Everything was so seamless. And then I decided for myself, it's better I stop thinking when I'm chanting and just chant and leave everything onto your Guru and Krishna. Just chant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Very true, Prabhu. Yeah, that's called realized knowledge.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. It was so nice. And I see so many messages being dropped of, how happy they are to have heard you. And it will definitely help all of us. Thank you very much. And next week, we'll have Anusuya Mataji talking on chanting. So, yeah, so Matajis can put up their other practical questions if they're faced. So, yeah, good.
Once again, Prabhu, there's a nice thing I just want to.
Yeah.
Did you send this instead of I have to do surrender to Krishna? So who sent this thing? Nishant. No. And Shankar Naik. No. Who's this? Somebody just now sent a nice message. I'm trying to see them in chat.
The message of
that instead of what is that? Did you see a message there, Prabhu? Something about instead of trying to, I have to do. I don't see that now anymore. It was there for a bit.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that now. This is sent by Deepak Prabhu.
Okay.
He's sharing that ABCD, 4 things that can help and enjoy chanting instead of just chanting. Oh, he's kind of sharing the important points which you talked about. Tell your mind that it is your personal time with Krishna. It is important to have personal time with him so that you can execute your responsibilities fully. And then instead of I have to do, surrender to Krishna so that you can make it with his grace. And things to remember is you can make it undoubtedly with his grace. So leave the challenges to Guru and Gauranga and just chant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Nice summary.
Thank you very much, Deepak Prabhuji. Thank you. And we see will be available on Zoom. Yeah, it will be on Zoom on the same platform. And we always post the recordings in the morning chanting group. So yes, everything will be available. Thank you again very much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Pachitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namah. Hare Krishna, devotees. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.